Hello, I'm Tan the TamBoTC channel, and I have notes written down for this one, though I think I should make a larger video in the future on this. But this is Skyrim versus Starfield versus Fallout 4, and I might ad-lib a few things, but let's go over the categories real quick. So, also, I think I have to slightly alter some things. I'll get into that later in the video, or as I'm talking about some of this stuff, because I think the point system for each category that these win kind of changed as I was looking through this again. So the categories are story, character development, or just development in general, world building, immersion, side quests, level design, gameplay, and/or gunplay if your game has guns in it or not. Unless you mod them in. Personality, how iconic they are, side stories and lore, companions, marriage and children, home, outpost, not in the same not in the same time. No, you don't marry children. That's not what I'm saying. Home is an outpost, graphics or settlements, art style, music, atmosphere, sound design, choices, dialogue, and options, which would go into choices as well, honestly. Enemies and variety, weapons, armor, outfits, and their variety as well. Same with melee and ranged. Perks, skills, powers, and abilities, dungeons, stealth, NPCs, and interactions with the world and characters in it, like physics-based even. Like putting a bucket over somebody's head in Skyrim. Store owners and stores and how they interact with you, how interactive they are. The police system, same thing goes for that, on how that functions. Vehicles, if your game has it, are other ways to travel. Creativity, mods, and which in each category, which of these better they execute. So there we go. And I do have a bonus part at the very end too, that one of them can win potentially. So, and that is going into, let me actually read that one off. So that one is into role playing your character, class, backstory you can create for them, race, and their fighting style. So, whatever, realize that when a role playing game, it's not just in the dialogue system, it is also in the class and how you play. The gameplay itself can be affected by the role-playing element as well. So here we go. And let's start with story. So Skyrim has great presentation to its story, and there are great elements in the story. But I will say that Starfield does a great job in its writing. Even Yang Yi, who didn't care, didn't think that Starfield was his thing, thought that the plot twists and some of the story elements were actually pretty good. So yeah, I like Starfield's story, where there's a lot of a hot mess that Fallout 4's story kind of becomes, but that doesn't make it any lesser. It still has its moments from time to time. I'm trying to move my controller carefully so I don't disconnect the controller because it's easily disconnected. Characters and development. So Fallout 4 characters and Starfield have some great character and development. I do love Skyrim's as well, but Skyrim has those characters that don't have much dialogue or so on, like Lydia, for example, even Dirkethis. Even though I do think there's some things they kind of give you hints to what those characters are like Dirkethis. When you ask some of the people at Darkwater Crossing, they can tell you some things about Dirkethis and add more to what you know about him, as well as other people that they know in general, that know them in general or whatever. But I have to give it to frickin' I think Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 has just really memorable, well-developed characters, and nobody's going to forget these characters. But I will say Starfield also has really great characters, so it might be kind of tied there. They might both win a point there. World building. They're all great for different reasons here, and it's up to your personal preference. But I say Skyrim all the way. I think the world building is really good in Skyrim. There's some fantastic lore and story. I love the cities the most in that game. It's fantastic. And but it can be up to personal preference. But Skyrim, with its Nordic setting and its art style and stuff, it really helps to contribute, and its personality and everything helps to contribute, which are also other parts that I'm going to be getting to as well. So, but that does somewhat contribute to this part, and I love it. Immersion, they all equally break, and somehow you keep you immersed at the same time with that Bethesda charm. Skyrim is probably the most impressive as it has smaller options, but the other optional stuff, like options like what it gives you, yet it's somehow still very immersive and people still play it to this day. And it's just such a fun, great experience. With even with the glitches, you can get immersed and just lost within Skyrim's world in general. Most of these worlds you can. The other than the lack of options and stuff and how it's able to remain alive for so long. There's also stuff that try to make it feel more like real life. Starfield kind of does this where you can apply for jobs and stuff and get married, of course, and you have kind of a ceremony with them. Same within Skyrim where you can have a house or even build your own house. You can have your kids and wife and such or husband move in with you wherever. And you can adopt kids as well. I think I lean towards Skyrim more so here, but I was hinting that Starfield is pretty good here too. So side quests, they all have very good side quests, and Starfield actually has ones with choices that can differ. But Skyrim has the most memorable side quests from Daedric to various other other side quests. As well as memorable characters and guild quests and such. As well as the rewards. I love the rewards in Skyrim. Why is everybody talking so much right now? Shut the frick up.
Favorite drinking buddy.
Shut up.
Dragonborn, huh? Was it your ma or your pa that was the dragon?
What? That doesn't mean I'm literally in a... Oh, frick you. Asshole. Somebody coughing as well. Just uncomfortable coughs. Level design. I think Skyrim can have varying level design, as it's almost got a Dark Souls shortcut set up for some of its dungeons and such, as well as it's got a wonderful world and pacing for that world. Love its open world. It's fantastic. As well as the pacing and placement of enemy types and such is, while predictable at times, still really good. Fallout 4 comes close, but can get a little confusing because of the almost samey building structure. And Starfield does start to recycle its level design after a while, but it's still good. I still think they do a good job, nonetheless. But yeah, I was leaning more towards Skyrim. So, gameplay and gunplay, if your game has guns. Fallout has a VAT system, which helps to complement it, as well as skills and perks and stuff can also help to complement the gunplay and gameplay. Skyrim has way melee combat, but really great bow and arrow or crossbow, as well as slow-mo kill animations and such. Same with Fallout 4, technically, when killing someone and with the VAT system. Which is really cool, and there are some great weapons in each, and the variety of weapons and different ways you can play. I think because Skyrim has multiple ways you can play with both ranged powers, shouts, different types of magic from necromancy, pyromancy, spells, and so on. It's got a lot to give you, as well as restoration and all that. It's got a lot of variety there, though I wish you could walk on water and fly again, and I have another video to talk about the Elder Scrolls games, but I still think it does a really good job. I do think that with the third person and the shooting elements, it is a little smoother in Starfield compared to Fallout, but I do think that each game does a great job with its variety in each of these sections, as well as the combat it does give you, and there are some cool powers and how you upgrade them in Starfield, as well as how the perks and skills contribute to the gameplay too. So I think they all do a good job, but I think I'm mostly leaning towards Skyrim because of the options and variety there. Personality, they all have very unique personality, but while I think it's also up to personal preference, I think Fallout 4 and Skyrim has a lot a lot more of this. I'm gonna give
You
it to
look worse than
Skyrim,
I feel.
with Fallout 4 coming very close. Because of the world, Skyrim has more personality than Fallout's. Like, for example, I love the city. There's more cities that are going to be more memorable, as well as even somewhat characters. I mean, once again, Fallout 4 has really good iconic characters, but it only has Diamond City, really. There's a couple of smaller places, but they just don't come across as iconic as some of the majority of cities and villages and stuff in Skyrim. So I gotta give it to that. And there are great cities and such in art style too. Starfield, though it is trying to be a little bit more real looking, where there's actually genuinely an art style to the others and personality, great personality. I think I gotta give it to Skyrim still. But yeah, there's many different ways you can find these. Okay, iconic. Well, both Fallout 4 and Skyrim are iconic for multiple reasons in their dialogue. Getting a phone call, but I don't know who from. Looks like a freaking unknown number. They only ring the phone. They only ring my phone with 2 rings. What? So they kind of just immediately gave up. So hold on a sec. So iconic. I think I'm gonna give it to Fallout 4 because of those. Also, it's too early to say for Starfield, but I think I'm going to give it to Fallout 4. Who could have rung me? Hold on a sec. Let's just check. My microphone might go off. So, yeah. Just in case. I'm just checking. Wonder if that's somebody who is actually come to the door? No? Buddy? Yeah. Okay. That was weird. Iconic. I think both Fallout 4 and Skyrim. But Fallout 4's got some really. Oh.
I think they're wrong. It's
Getting another phone call by a different phone number. What is going on? This one's calling me even longer. This is a weird time to have phone calls when I'm trying to do a video. Though it's going to be a longer video. So I'll try and see what these phone calls are. But iconic, I think I'm going to give it to both of them. They both have different reasons they're iconic. You could even say the characters in Fallout 4 very iconic too, as well as dialogue that characters have in each game are very iconic in these two. Starfield is still too early. Side stories and lore all are great, but Skyrim hands down, Elder Scrolls in general just has really great lore and what they're able to add. While I love the Lovecraftian stuff brought out about the lore in Fallout 4 and what people have been talking about with that stuff, I think Skyrim, with what it was able to add to the Dwarven disappearance lore and stuff, and just that lore in general, is just very iconic and memorable. Nobody's going to forget that stuff, and it's some of the best lore in gaming. Companions. I love a lot of the companions in Skyrim personally. They're all my favorites. Even smaller companions that don't have much development, where most of the ones that have stronger development are within the guilds. I think I gotta give it. Okay, I got a voice message from them, I guess. I gotta give it to
You look worse than I feel.
Wait a minute. I gotta give it to Fallout 4, sorry. All the way, because those companions, you're never gonna forget Nick Valentine, Dance, Piper, Hancock, all those companions, even McCready and Deacon and all that. Like, they're freaking awesome. You're never going to forget those companions, you're never going to forget those characters. Let me just check out the door here, because I'm getting phone calls. Okay, yeah. Weird. I'll have to check the voicemail. This is a weird time to be getting this stuff. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, but I give Fallout 4 companions just because those companions are very memorable and iconic. I have figurines of those companions who are crying out loud. So let's move on. Marriage and children. While marriage does have a ceremony, and there are 4 characters you can marry in Starfield, and it does have plenty of companions too. But I gotta give it to. Also, there are actually quite a few companions in. Yeah, but Skyrim's got so many companions, so many love interests. So I think Skyrim's got to take this one. There's so many options for marriage. You have children you can adopt and stuff. That's not even
You should have
including
seen
what
me
mods
hyper
give you
my
for
clothes
options
the other
too,
day.
as
I
well
was
as you can build a
fearless,
house or have them
discriminated
live in a
against.
house, make
But that's
money,
what
or
it's
have
all
them cook
about.
for you and stuff. So I got as well as a ceremony, and I love the unique aspect of the ceremony where people that you've come to know throughout the game, as well as people your spouse has come to know throughout the game, also brings some of those people to the marriage ceremony, which is pretty cool. What if you know everybody in the game? Do they all have to just kind of crowd around, or do they just pick specific NPCs for that? I'd have to test that out. I haven't really tested that out much. Um, I do like that Sovngarde does have at least Nordic characters. If they died in your world, will be up there, and you can interact with them for the last time. That's pretty cool. Home and outposts. Fallout 4 and Starfield are the best here. While I can get death claws and stuff for my outposts or settlements or whatever in Fallout 4, I find Preston's whole quest line of trying to manage the outposts. While I like management quests, it is a little annoying here. Kind of like Fallout Shelter, I like management games like that, but I feel like it's a little bit more annoying here, as well as you need a DLC just to be able to have pet death claws or whatever in your place. For some reason it says death laws. I guess I forgot the C or something, some typo. But I have to give it kind of to Starfield, because not only is Starfield probably going to get some cool outpost building stuff in the future, but you can build on multiple planets and make city-sized outposts, which is freaking crazy, some of the stuff people can do. Once again, not even including mods, which would probably be even crazier. So graphics, Starfield is obviously trying to be the most realistic graphics-wise, so it is the better. But Skyrim has managed to have great graphics over so many years, and Fallout 4 is kind of ugly unless you mod it. So Skyrim, I think Skyrim and Starfield both kind of win this one, because Starfield genuinely is the better looking, but Skyrim managed to stand on its own and survive with its great graphics for this long and still age well. It's kind of like Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. That game still ages really well too, and it's an old ass game from 2005 or whatever. Art style, Skyrim all the way. It is up to personal preference, of course, but Skyrim is very distinct and full of unique personality and is very iconic. So is Fallout. Fallout 4 comes very close, and Starfield is also great in its personality, but in the iconics, it still needs time to grow when it comes to becoming iconic. But I can see certain characters like Vasco and Sam Coe and such becoming pretty iconic down the line. I mean, frickin' Sam Coe is played by frickin' Adam Jensen, for example, and he's a space cowboy, which is frickin' awesome. So, no doubt. But I gotta give it the Skyrim. I love the unique Nordic design. I love the frickin' Dwemer ruins and stuff, especially the city that is people living within a Dwemer city. Just really cool. I love the design, the art design and direction there. Music. They're all really great, especially their theme songs, but you're going to come home remembering and listening to Skyrim's music more. It's epic, it's a great booming fantasy music, and you're going to remember it the most out of them. Fallout 4 comes really close, and Starfield's soundtrack is really good too, with the same composer. And it's just a great composer in general. Forget his freaking name though, because I'm dumb. Atmosphere. I'm giving this. They all have great atmosphere and can creep me out from time to time, all of them. But Fallout 4 hands down wins here, because the Fallout games in general have some scary ass moments that put most horror games to shame sometimes. And it's not even a horror game. So I gotta give it to Fallout 4. It's got those creepy elements here and there, and I gotta give it to it. Sound design, I think will be a tie. I don't notice much, but I think Fallout 4 mostly wins this, because when it comes to sound design, it does do the kind of Resident Evil thing with footsteps and all that. And it's pretty creepy, and some of the creepy music and sound effects they use to make it more scary is noticeable in Fallout. But also, I think sound design also contributes to iconic sounds. And Fallout has some iconic sound effects too, like with the VAT system sound effect or the lasers. Like, you're not going to forget those sound effects and such. Shut the frick up! Do I need to move away from this frickin' asshole?
I don't owe you money, do I?
Oh my gosh. Just gonna stand over here. There we go. Was dumb. Choices. I gotta give Starfield this, clearly. Skyrim does have some choices with like choosing between the Blades or the Greybeards, as well as who you choose in the war, as well as some side quests, and between who you go with or Hadvar or Rayloff. Also, I talked about this in another video, but Skyrim at the time was born during a time where games were trying to appeal to multiple audiences or whatever. Some games like Skyrim succeeded at that, while games like Resident Evil 6 failed. Hopefully you can hear me fine, by the way. But Starfield gives you a lot of options and choices, especially in being a double agent for the Crimson Fleet or the UC, joining a gang, the other factions, and the related things that can differ, even in the choices of who lives or dies in a lot of places too. So there's that. So I have to give Starfield that. Dialogue options. Starfield, once again, for a lot of the same reasons. There's a lot to the dialogue. They even have mini games as well as perks and stuff that affect that even further. And while it does have like some of the like what was the thing? There was something I said about, I think, Fallout. Oh yes, Fallout 4 does have choices, though much weaker, and most of its actual effective reactive choices that interact with the world and make a big difference on the world of Fallout 4 are mostly in the ending with the factions you choose and which factions you kill off. And you can even see those potential factions either hunt you down, be general enemies here and there, or even kind of patrol the wasteland and even hang out in cities like Diamond and such. So that's kind of cool, and their interactions with you. And what they provide too as rewards and such. So dialogue options, I gotta give Starfield. Fallout 4 is awful, and Skyrim mid with mostly questions to ask. But it's still a great game, and once again, what the time period it was born in. Starfield, while people were complaining about Starfield having like Nakey Jakey with like the obvious flirt thing that tells you this option lets you flirt and such, other games do that too. I mean, Cyberpunk does that with Street Kid and all that, and it also there's the symbol thing too, as well as the color coding options with the blue basically saying this is just something extra you can ask, but it doesn't progress the dialogue, where the gold options or yellow options do progress the dialogue and the mission or whatever. So I think that Starfield obviously does the best here, as it doesn't at least color code stuff for you. So there you go. Enemies. Skyrim and Fallout 4 are full of iconic and awesome enemies and could win, while Fallout 4 is reusing enemies from previous games. Same with Starfield to an extent, with the assets and such. But I think that Starfield also has a great potential for variety of enemy types too, especially with the alien enemy types that you can run into on different planets. But I gotta give it to, I think Skyrim and Fallout 4 kind of win this, but Fallout 4 is a little bit, takes it into a much larger direction than what Skyrim does, mostly because it learned from Skyrim, and it gives you so many different enemy types as you level up. So that's pretty cool. So you're going to see new enemies, even more enemy types in Fallout 4 than any other. So weapons, armor, outfits, and the variety in them. I'm going to I gotta give this to Skyrim. They all got awesome armor sets. I love the Starborn armors. But I love how iconic the redesign and such to the armor sets, and they can contribute, once again, armor and weapons can contribute to the way you roleplay in the game, which also Fallout 4 does a really good job of. Fallout 4 almost does that thing where there's layers to the armor, similar to Morrowind, so that's great. By the way, I'm standing up now and talking. But I'm still in the room where the game is, and I can see the game from here. So yeah, I love the options and the stuff you can add, like all the different, there's so many different ways you can play too in Skyrim, as well as how that's affected as you level up certain skills and such. Like when you're using your hands separately to cast magic, or you put them together like you're doing some Dragon Ball Hame Kame, and they might do extra damage. with magic and such. There's stabs, bows and arrows, crossbows, the shouts, of course, the attachments and enchantments and so on. Um, Alchemy, all the kind of stuff that helps to customize your combat. So I think there's a lot of stuff that Skyrim adds, and I think Skyrim is the winner here. Where the other two games, I think, while have a lot of options, don't nearly have as much the variety that Skyrim's able to add. But still really close once again. I'm going to give it to Skyrim though. So I think the same can be said with melee and ranged. Starfield is kind of lacking with the melee weapons and stuff, but it has some great ranged weapons. You can also check out, I think there's a video trying to trash on the Starfield weapons. I don't agree with it, but I like, if you want good perspective, somebody who actually knows how guns function and are put together and such. I think that Zach from Mike Burn Fire does a great job, and he will probably do more of that in the future. I mean, there's bound to be weapons dunked on in Starfield, no doubt. Every game has that, honestly, but yeah. It just seems kind of petty otherwise. But I think I'm gonna give Skyrim this one too because of what I previously said in the last one. I should have really combined these two, honestly. Perks and skills, I think this is a similar thing too. They all work really well at higher levels and really affect how powerful you feel, and that's how it's supposed to be. Skyrim has a really cool looking skill tree, but is the most simplistic of them. So is Fallout's. Fallout's works effectively though still. They all work very effectively. Starfield's layout is pretty good and effective, so surprisingly I gotta go with maybe Starfield on this, but they're all very close. They're all very close. But Starfield, I do really feel the weight of some of the perks that you choose and how they affect how powerful you become. But I think they're all pretty even in this and very close to one another. So they all have benefits, good pros and cons to each. So yeah, they kind of even out in a way. Powers and abilities. Skyrim, same reasons as the last two. It's just got so much to it, so much depth to its combat, and just the variety of options in which you can fight. There's different melee weapons. There's different enchantments on the melee weapons you can have and the effects they have, as well as ranged weapons of all types, as well as magic, shouts, all that stuff that you can combine together, and there's just a lot. So I gotta give Skyrim that because of the variety there. NPCs, I think I noticed the NPCs are more noticeable in Skyrim in how they interact with you, how they interact with one another, their day-night cycle. While they still have this in Starfield and Fallout 4, it's just way more noticeable, in my opinion, in Skyrim. And the NPCs are really cool and interesting. I love talking to them, all the different options and interactions you can have with them. Which goes into the next one, interactions with the world and characters, physics-based. So Skyrim, you can also put buckets. There are physics-based stuff in the other two, but they can arrest you just for picking up a ball in Starfield, which is weird, but you can find ways around that, where you can put buckets and stuff over people's heads in Skyrim, and that's pretty funny. So I love that, and I love that there's definitely interruptions, as well as the trouble that the cops can start with you, the equivalent of police force in each of the games, which goes into, which we're going to get to soon, but actually I should do that one right now. Police system. Fallout 4, they don't even arrest you in that. They just kind of attack you off the site if they even see you steal, which is weird, even though they have a prison. So I think Skyrim and Starfield are very similar in their options, and they give you plenty of options, especially if you're part of the Thieves Guild or Dark Brotherhood or some other guild in one of those or factions. Then they give you extra dialogue options with the police, or pay off your debt or whatever, or resist arrest. So I like that there's a plethora of variety of options and interactions with the police force, where certain games don't always have that. Or even put you in jail or whatever. I mean, Cyberpunk still doesn't have that stuff. Starfield and Skyrim are probably going to be tied on that one because they both equally have a functional police system to the same extent. Then we have stores and store owners. This is another thing Cyberpunk is lacking in, what I'm about to talk about. This is what I talked about in my versus videos with Cyberpunk in the past. But when it comes to it, and even Actman has kind of talked about this stuff too, they're all very close, but the stores and characters running them are undeniably the most iconic and memorable in Skyrim. You're not going to forget places like the Bee and Barb and all that. The environment and atmosphere of those locations and taverns are just very iconic, memorable. Once again, just like the police force, you have a plethora and variety of options that not only talk to for stuff to buy and sell, but also to ask questions and get to know the person who works that tavern or whatever, as well as the other employees working there, that there actually are other employees working there and that you can kind of interact in physics-based ways with the stuff in the stores, as well as other things on top of that, like you can get side quests and stuff from them, or even work a job. I saw that in Starfield. You can work a job for one of the store owners of the Neon City, which is pretty cool. I like that. Police, I already talked about police system, sorry. Vehicles, this is undeniably Starfield because it actually has a vehicle, which is being the fricking spaceships. But I also love the creativity and what types of spaceships you can create, but that's mostly exterior rather than interior. Hopefully they do something with that in the future. But yeah, that's pretty cool. They have actual vehicles finally in a game, where horses are okay, but I'd rather travel on foot or fast travel or use a carriage in something like Skyrim, which you're still going to do a lot of fast traveling in the other games too. And if you have a better SSD card, those loading screens will be a lot shorter than you would otherwise notice. So there. I think Starfield wins that one. Creativity, Starfield, both outposts and ships give you more creativity, though there's creativity in the worlds too and how they're designed. So this could go either ways. It's either in how your interactions with being creative are, or the world's interactions with how creative it is, or how it's already creative. I think Skyrim is the most, they're all very creative, honestly, in many different ways, but I think Skyrim and Fallout are the best here, and because of their iconic staying power, they stand out the most, where creativity and certain gameplay elements are stronger in Starfield. So they could all potentially win this one, because Starfield, when it comes, like I was saying with the shipbuilding, I'm seeing people do some crazy things with the shipbuilding. By the way, I forgot this, but Vasco can say Captain Titties and stuff. I just thought that was funny. Like the fact that I discovered they added more things for your equivalent of Codsworth to say is freaking awesome. I love that. That's freaking hilarious. It makes me laugh every time. But yeah, the creativity in the outposts, as well as, and honestly, the settlements. But because it gives you more space to work with and stuff in Starfield, as well as the ship creativity, is freaking awesome. And even if the ship is kind of lazy or sloppy in its interior design, it's still cool, and there's still some nice looking areas here and there in the ship design. So I don't mind it. As long as the outside looks cool, and you're probably going to look at the outside a lot. So if you're flying a frickin' Normandy or a frickin' Batman's Batwing, then that's awesome. So mods, obviously, this is just an optional round, but Skyrim obviously is the winner in mods because not only does it have the most mods and a longer staying community with mod building and the stuff they were able to do with mods, there's even some really impressive mods. Like if you see the Diablo mod as well as the no, wait, is it Diablo? What is his name? Lucifer, that's his name. Lucifer, other devil name. But Lucifer and what is the Khajiit's name? Inigo? If you see the way those AIs function and how people crafted those guys, freaking they amaze the crap out of me. My mind's just blown at times. It's freaking ridiculous. Fallout 4 comes very close because it also has very large amount of mods and modding community. They're also on multiple platforms. Starfield will probably eventually get this for the Xbox, but for right now, it is definitely the weaker of the three. But I gotta give it to Skyrim because of the long-time support over the years. And the bonus round is role-playing in the characters, class, backstory, and how you create them, race, fighting style, and so on and so forth. This is also where role-playing can play a part in the gameplay in how you create and play your character. Obviously, Skyrim wins this one. I mean, there's multiple races. I'm playing a freaking lizard man right now. So, that obviously wins this one. As well as you can, while you are a dragonborn for the most part, you can still be, there are times where you can be two classes at once, and it's not like you can't pretend to be Dragonborn Paladin or Dragonborn Stealth Archer. Okay, that one's a joke, but Dragonborn Thief or Dragonborn Assassin, Dragonborn Mage, Sorcerer, whatever. Like, you can still roleplay to a large extent, or a werewolf or a vampire lord or something. There's really cool ways in how you can roleplay, and they actually play a part. Like, you have to drink blood in order to not be hated by everybody in a city when you're a vampire, for example. So here's the total score at the end. I think this will be changed by 3 or 4 extra points for Skyrim and Starfield, because I noticed they won a little bit more, where Fallout, I think, only got 3 extra points when reviewing this again. So originally I had Skyrim has 19 points, Fallout 4 has 7 points, and Starfield has 9. But after reviewing and looking this over, I think they go up a couple more. So Skyrim with 4 extra points, I think, at this point, because it did tie at times. So 20, I think it would be 23 points. Fallout 4 would go up only 3, so it would be 8, 9, 10 points. And then Starfield would go up 3 or 4, because it also tied at times too. Would go up 3 or 4, so 10, 11, 12, probably 12 or 13 points. So Skyrim is obviously dominated and is first place. Starfield is second place. I'm surprised by that. I thought Fallout 4 was going to make it, but after reviewing this again, it's changed. Even then, it somehow got third place still, but Fallout 4 is third place. So there you go. Tell me what you think. There are more that I would love to talk about these, but for right now, that's all I have to talk about with these games. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless. I know I just had my character standing here and the camera revolved around him and characters annoyingly talked while I'm trying to talk about this stuff. But yeah, I don't have my computer yet. I would have made a more entertaining video side by side where I would have the gameplay footage of each of the different games playing at different times. So there you go. But sadly, I still gotta wait, and I gotta make sure my devices actually will work on this computer too, and that I have the right devices that will work. Because I'm not sure how my keyboard or mouse will be, if they're in good condition right now, as well as my Elgato. I might have to replace that and get an upgraded, better Elgato in general. So yeah, that's all I have to contribute, and I hope you enjoyed this nonetheless, and have an awesome day. See you later, and tell me what your favorite Bethesda game is, even if it's not one of these 3. I want to do more versus videos, like, say, with Morrowind, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, and Oblivion sometime in the future, maybe. As well as another video I have coming up that I want to do. So, mostly based around the more recent Elder Scrolls games. So, I'll see you then. Bye!